Live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the After Third Tea Time. My name is Christine, and I will be your host today. And I am joined by Rachel and Andy and Nikki. Thank you for joining me. So, how did you guys find today's Sunday service? What was the biggest takeaway you had from it?
Hello, yeah. I think expectations is a theme running throughout the journey because it's so easy to slip into the habit of having expectations, and I think it's you regularly have to check in and and see, like, am I having expectations here? Am I having expectations here? Because we all already know that if we have expectations, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. We can't imagine how things are going to turn out because God's plan is always best. So it's what I was talking about, living a surrendered life, just relaxing and allowing God's plan to unfold. And another thing to always check in on is, say you healed through something and you think, okay, I've healed this. Is this going to change on the outside? Am I going to see this? Is this person going to show me this? And that's one to watch, because I think it's very easy to get caught up in that particular kind of expectations. I mean, when things change in your world, it happens when God deems it ready and not before. So it's, I think, so the conclusion is just live a surrendered life. Let God's plan unfold, even if it doesn't look very nice from our perspective. It doesn't always look pretty. Just trust God's plan.
I love that. And I think this is the perfect topic because, like, today when I woke up, there was something on my YouTube timeline. There was another sermon about like trusting in God's timing and not worrying about what things look like on the outside, and how even when it's midnight, it's a new day, but we don't really see it because it's still dark outside. So we can't know that it's a new day until we've got a few hours to go and then it's morning. And again, it was about trusting in God's timing and about how God knows what we desire and God will give that to us when it's time. And sometimes when we expect things, we have our expectations because we're human. So we don't see the full picture, but what God has for us is even bigger and even better. There was this meme that was being shared on Facebook for a while about like this girl with a small teddy bear, and there was Jesus and he was asking for the teddy bear and she didn't want to give it away, but he was holding like this giant teddy bear behind his back. So that's the picture I'm getting. Like God's plan is always much better for us and much more beautiful than we could ever imagine. But if we are not surrendered and we don't trust him, then we cannot receive what God has for us.
For me, a big part of this sermon, what came up to me was about control as well. That domino effect that Brian mentioned afterwards, that Granville was sharing. One of the feelings was control, about releasing control, and mainly about like when you have expectations, you're in some level, you're trying to control what the future will look like and what the future will offer. So for me, that was another part of healing, to fully release control of what is going to happen, and to fully surrender to that place inside. And with that, I feel like a lot of opportunities and new adventures open up in life, because like when you release that control and when you fully surrender expectations and accept what it is in the present moment, you in the same moment you also accept the new adventures and new opportunities for life. So yeah, that was a great feeling and a great insight I got from it.
I love it. I really enjoyed, and it was really timely and really perfectly timely.
Perfectly timed.
The sermon, because I've been like struggling with this for a couple months, and I knew that it was expectations, but the thing is that I wasn't like seeing that I was actually free to explore each and every thing that I was expecting. And when Granville said that it was like this validation, or this like the core of it was getting something outside and seeing your outside as your source, and that actually that can be transcended and you can give everything to yourself, that made me happy, because I was like feeling this stuck, and I know like I have a lot to explore here, and I have a lot to heal. But the feeling and the knowing that, look, you can actually go into every little place here and just heal it and just see what it actually is and question it. Yeah, it made me feel like I have power. That was the core of it, that I can actually feel happy and not expect to be sad all the time. And that actually creates more sadness, because you're focused on the sadness, on stuff that are not happening, without seeing what is actually happening in truth, and not allowing God in, as you said as well.
Yeah, it's like you're giving opportunity at some level to disappointment and to ego. You're giving space to ego, and while you can choose fully to actually surrender yourself to God and not accept any kind of like space or opportunity for ego to get in that area of your feelings.
Yeah, because God is our source, so it's actually not appropriate and not okay to expect stuff from outside when we are divine children of God. God is our Father, so we have everything from Him.
I love this point you made about how it's essentially allowing ego a space. I never thought about it this way. And it makes perfect sense, because like you're opening yourself up to all this thing. And also I feel like expectations and control also don't keep us open to the truth, because sometimes when we think, oh, is this person loving me, for example, we have an expectation of that, of what that will look like. And sometimes someone can love us in a different way. Maybe it's tough love and we didn't expect that, and immediately we're like, nope, this person isn't loving me, they're mean or whatever. And this happens a lot, for example, on the twin flame journey. Sometimes your twin flame isn't all rainbows and cuddles, but they're still loving you, even when they're calling you out for a pattern you have, because it's more compassionate to call you out on it than to allow you to keep going in circles. But yeah, by having an expectation of how we should be loved, then we're not really receiving this divine love. And it's actually not receiving God's gift through our twin flame or through anybody else in our lives.
Yeah, I totally agree there, and I would like to expand on it, because on the twin flame journey, it's so easy to have expectations. Well, this should have been healed by now. I should have been at this stage by now, and that's a problem that a lot of people have. So once again, the theme of control has been coming up, because it is controlling to think, well, I should have achieved X, Y, Z by this point in time. It's it's a matter of completely surrendering and letting go of all the control. Because it's like you're trying to engineer an outcome by sort of wanting it or willing it, and then that just makes you feel powerless. In fact, by having an expectation, you're probably most likely to be manifesting a disappointing outcome, because you're going around in circles, or you're not in the right frame of thinking to manifest what you're desiring. So this is where faith comes in, and not seeing your twin flame or anything on the outside as your source, the source of your happiness. Then they can do what they like, and sometimes they'll show up and reflect on the love you've been giving yourself. Other times they'll show up and give you a trigger. But either way, they're just giving you your next steps. And if it feels good, then great. A little pat on the back there. If it doesn't, then it's just something else to work on. And if you've been working hard for time and things still don't seem to be changing to the way you'd like, it's just because there's more to do. Just another opportunity to go deeper, like everything's an opportunity to go deeper. And that's when you keep going.
Yeah, this piece actually aligns greatly to what Granville said about also not feeling enough, and like why you have expectations, and is that void within you that maybe is a very deep layer that you can't see at the first, but the expectation is that like the first thing that can be a reflection for you to see that. Because when you fill that void with love and with all what you need, and as you were saying, this happens a lot at the twin flame journey. You really can be in a state of fully like releasing expectations and give yourself to what you need to fill that void of not feeling enough.
I love that you both brought this up, because I feel like this is a result of how we are socialized and how we grow up in the world, because there's this belief that, oh, you need to go to university and finish it up and graduate by this age, and then by this age you need to have a job, and by that age you need to be married, and all those expectations that we carry around even unconsciously. And I've seen a lot of people like feeling like, okay, I didn't get married by that age, and there's this feeling of not being enough or what's wrong with me. And if you're on a twin flame journey, then you need to be facing those things, because yeah, like it won't always align 100% with what society's idea of success is in many cases, and that is okay. And it takes a lot of self-acceptance here. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you if you're not in union by, I don't know, like a month of doing the mirror exercise. It doesn't really work that way. And it's okay for every person to have a unique journey. And that is so beautiful, in my opinion, to see like every single person has a different story. And it's always beautiful. And I always get so inspired and learn so much, even by the people who have a very different journey than my own.
I was actually thinking,
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I would like to touch on the bit that you said about society's expectations, because and the way we're socialized and conditioned, because a lot of people, as they're growing up, their parents have impossibly high expectations of them, and then these people grow up with impossibly high expectations of themselves, like not good looking enough, not tall enough, things that they can't really change. And yeah, so this is where the self-acceptance on this journey comes in. And it's a case of unlearning these expectations, because yeah, that is where the not good enough belief comes from. So we're all good enough. Okay.
I wanted to just add, like, in the society or the world, I feel and see that this is like ego's way to generate control and despair in a way with people, and try like to generate this control to make them need each other instead of God. So in the bigger picture, it's just egos. It's an ego trap to just like be looped into these expectations and feeling bad all the time, you know.
Yeah, also it's that thing like I give you this, you give me that, like exchange of things that that is that loop that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
I feel like Christine mentioned it in her card
reading, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great point, actually. And the first example that comes to mind while you were sharing that is like as a divine feminine, I've experienced this whole thing with the beauty industry and the diet industry. Like every time they're spraying, like there's this message to you need to go to the gym and eat healthy, because if you go to the beach, you're not good enough as you are right now, and all those things about changing on the outside. And we even see it with how popular plastic surgery is becoming in the last few years. And that's ego's way of trying to keep people in this loop of not feeling good enough. So they leak their energy, whether it's money or anything else, like even their health in many cases. So yeah, it's important to be discerning. And of course, it is great to take care of your health and your beauty, but to do it in a way that is because we feel good on the inside, not so that we will get something like acceptance from other people because we're fit. Or even, I'll lose some weight to attract my twin flame kind of thinking, because in truth, your twin flame doesn't really care about that. Your twin flame cares about what's within yourself. So it doesn't matter what you do on the outside. It's all about how you feel and what you do within yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, you accept your divine beauty, then that's all your twin flame will see. And it doesn't matter if you wore makeup that day or anything else.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a class in Twin Flame Ascension School. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head, but Jeff was saying, like, if you're doing all these things to be enough, you'll just end up with more not enough.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a case of realizing that you were born enough, you're already enough. There's nothing more you need to do to be enough. And that's how you were created. And then if you want to partake in these activities, fitness, makeup, then you're doing it for the right reasons in a healthy way because it feels good. I was going to say, because it makes you happy, you've got to be careful with the words. Yeah. It's, once again, yeah, people can get caught up into thinking these things will make them happy. It's the source of their happiness when it's not. God is, but this is the ploy that advertisers use. So buy this product and it will make you happy. And they even use spiritual imagery to sell. Like a mountain top is used to sell a car. They put a little, like a supernatural sheen over a can of fizzy drink. But really, what we're all seeking, what the thing that is going to make us happy is God.
I love that we're going there, because that's what I've been healing for the longest time. And right before I came into my union, that was exactly what I was healing. Like I felt, okay, if I have this type of body and if I lose that much weight, I'll be happy. That was an unconscious mentality. But in truth, it really didn't matter, because when I actually achieved that goal, I noticed that I didn't feel any different on the inside. So it was like this expectation of I'll feel healthier and I'll feel happier, but it wasn't the case, because it was coming from a place of trying to control and trying to make the outside my source. So then it started to feel really bad. And I also love what you mentioned about the advertising and like the mountaintop and everything, because it's like people want God always. And it's like, oh, if you get this car, you'll get more God. But it's a bit manipulative.
Yeah, and what Rachel said about the class, where Jeff said that if you're trying to fill that void of not feeling enough from outside, you will feel even more not enough. I have seen this in myself before in the past, where I used to like try to like get validation from outside and do stuff outside to make me feel better. I was seeing that that made me feel even 10 times worse. Like it amplified that bad feeling. And also me and Nikki yesterday were having like an upset about or where we should be in our journey, here or there. And
we were having expectations,
yeah,
and we were not accepting.
mhm.
That's why, like when Adam mentioned like the quote, the 3-word quote from Shaleia, which was acceptance dissolves expectations, and it was like, okay, right. Sorry,
Yeah, so I was saying that we had this thought that, oh, we should be here or we should be there. And I was like, what I actually want is just to feel loved and just to be happy. It doesn't matter like how it looks outside, what I do or what I don't do, or like obviously like we like to do stuff outside that make us happy and bring us joy, but that is actually first us giving that to ourselves within, because we cannot get that organically from outside. It doesn't happen that way. Even if you think it does and it may temporarily feel good, it you will go back to the core feeling, which is not peaceful. And yeah, so I was just like, oh, for me what matters is just to feel loved and just to love myself and be happy and just stay in peace and just flow from that place, from what I want to do, or from, and accept myself or where I am, and go from there.
I love that. And the other thing that was coming up as you were sharing that was that like it's a really smart way for ego to keep you in a loop, all this thing, because if you're too busy being disappointed and feeling bad about where you are, you don't appreciate your blessings and you don't feel grateful for how far you've already come. Because like a lot of times the healing, we just feel it on the inside, it doesn't reflect on the outside, but we feel so different and we don't take the time to appreciate that. And it's important to do that because gratitude is such a high vibration and you manifest so many beautiful things from gratitude. So instead, when you focus on disappointment, you attract more and more disappointment.
Yes. Yeah. For example, if you're disappointed that your twin flame doesn't seem to be here yet, that's the very upset that you need to work on and heal through. That's the very bad feeling that's keeping you from your desire. Because yeah, union is always here. It always has been. You can feel it in your heart right now. And also going back to what Andy was saying about validation, it's like people will go to the most ridiculous lengths and harm themselves to get validation from the outside because they're starving within. But a compliment is only as good as the person that it comes from. And the soul cannot survive on junk food. And that brings me to a more recent life class with Jeff, where he said, allow yourself to be validated just by God, because it makes you unbelievably powerful. people won't even notice how powerful you are, because then that makes you somebody who needs nothing externally, and everybody else, even your twin flame, can do what they like because they're not your source. Go to God first for when you're needing love. That's what it means to be putting God first in every moment. And it's actually very easy to do. You just choose to do it, choose God in that moment, choosing love.
And the cool thing about that is that when you don't give a damn as much about your twin flame, like are they going to validate me? Are they going to love me? When you don't worry about those things, that's when your twin flame is right there and they're loving you and they're complimenting you. And it's very magnetic to just be surrendered and to overflow with love from within yourself instead of being starved and expecting your twin flame to be that source.
Yeah, like I see this all the time with Sandy actually, because I tend to be needy because I'm feeling like this pattern of neediness and expectations and attention and everything, and he will not have it. Like no, he will be like very, like he will just check and then like be like, okay, you're being needy now. And he will mirror me this like constantly. And although like it's uncomfortable, I know that he is very much loving me and showing me that I'm not your source. I got this, so stop coming to me. And it's very healthy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I notice it with my twin flame as well. If I kind of go to him because I need something, he's like, doesn't care. But as soon as I go and share something out of love, or I really have something to give, then he'll receive it and give right back.
Yeah, your twin flame will never be the source of your love, whether in union or if not quite there yet. You still always go to God when you need something. You fill yourself up inside. You do it yourself first, and then that's reflected back to you. Or if not, then they'll just reflect back the next place that's asking for love. But only you can do that. No one else can do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. And loving yourself doesn't stop when you have union. It's not like, oh yeah, I got what I wanted. Now I just give up and just expect my twin flame to give me the love that I need, because then you're going to lose it eventually. Your twin flame can't be around that.
Yeah, there's quite a few people that come into union and they believe they've earned everything, that they've got it, and then they forget about the path, continuing the work, and they don't have a nice time. So didn't Jeff say something about you don't have your honeymoon as soon as you come into union? That's when the real work starts. When it changes, because then you've got the mirror right in front of you all the time. But no, you have your honeymoon. You can have your party when you've earned it.
And you can still have a honeymoon while you're healing stuff. It doesn't mean that you don't get that. Like there are times that are easy and times when there are a lot of upsets. And I've noticed there's a perfect balance when it comes to everything on my healing journey. So whenever I'm healing something, it's either in my life purpose or in my union. It's never both at the same time, because then that would be too much for me. So there are times when everything in my union feels peaceful and good, and I'm healing something somewhere else, but it's the same block at the end of the day. But God allows us for this moment to rest and relax a bit and take a breath before we dive in again.
For me, the honeymoon period is when you actually love yourself, and you break through those upsets and hard times, that's when you like give yourself that that value, that love that you deserve. And the feeling is that honeymoon that Rachel was talking about, and it feels really good.
Yeah.
Just to love yourself.
But I believe like Shaleia has mentioned, or is mentioned either in the book or in a class. But I feel like this is talked about like several times, which like the real work starts after you get into harmonious union. It's not like the honeymoon phase. It's like there, like you have to build your life with your twin flame. And that starts also when you're in union. But I feel like I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've read that it's or heard in class that it's like when you're in union, your purpose is to get into harmonious union, but it doesn't mean that you are not at the same time working on your purpose, because it's the same. But when you get into harmonious union, then your purpose is like to get into perfect union and really like ground heaven on earth. That's like the whole thing of the flame journey. Essentially.
Yeah, the image I get is when you play this video game and then there's like this level that you're working through and you need to defeat all the boss fight and get the equipment, and then there's the next level with this union and the talent is a bit bigger there and you work on different things. Maybe you need different resources because the talent is different. Then there's harmonious union. It's another level. So yeah, like there's always work to be done until perfect union, I feel, but this doesn't mean that it's like that it feels bad to do the work. It actually, for me, it feels much better to be doing the work, to have those tools than before I knew about the mirror exercise and all that. Because I still had the same issues, but I didn't know how to overcome them. And I just felt powerless and it felt so bad.
Oh, yeah, I think we can all agree that it's better to have the work than not.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout this talk, I've been thinking back to times before I came into the work when I had really big expectations and it wasn't pleasant, not at all. Yeah, everyone who's been in the work for time will know how it does get easier and easier. It's certainly hardest at the beginning. The triggering is always the most painful then because we've been so numbed out. But yeah, it's like the first few months of the work was certainly for me. It's like getting over a hump, and then you know when you're on the other side of the bulk of the healing, and when you heal through a pattern completely, you know when you heal through it, and you know when there's still little bits to work through. And with some of them, like the deeper you go, the more you find and clear, the more there seems to be. And it can seem never ending, but this is where we have to just trust the teachings and know that there is an end to this section, this level with the computer game. And then you start again at the bottom of the next level and work your way up from there.
And also something I was healing this week, and I don't remember where this quote is from, but essentially it's that in your biggest talent lies your biggest gift. So whatever you're struggling with the most, and it seems like you're healing one more layer and then another, and then the 1,000th layer, and it's still not going away. That means that there's like an enormous blessing at the core of it, and that's why there's so much work to be done there. And that's very encouraging, I feel.
Yeah, this is exactly what I've been doing with my coach for the last few weeks. The biggest block is the biggest gift.
I just wanted like to, something that just came up while you were talking was really not expecting or a result when we do the inner work. It's okay, like, to expect that you will heal, because that's obvious, because we feel peaceful inside. But it doesn't mean that we have like to put these expectations on, oh, then now this should happen, or now I'm waiting for this thing to come, or I don't know, because that also creates upsets, like another upset or another, or sadness, or control. So it's like expectations, not only outside, but also when we actually do the inner work.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've all learnt this from experience, and we've learned not to do this again. But once again, another TPAS class, Jeff said that the outside is never a metric of your success. It's how you feel inside. However, don't go by how you're feeling right now, because you could be moving through an upset, you could be in an upset, you could be upheaving. The one accurate gauge of your progress is, am I moving through my upsets, or am I sitting in them?
Mm.
And getting better at catching them early on and dealing with them and putting love there.
Yeah, absolutely. How you deal with an upset is a sign of spiritual maturity, because in the beginning we all found it hard. Maybe we were resisting, so it took quite a bit to work through most of our upsets. And now, in my case, I feel like there's some things that I move through much quicker and I catch quicker than I used to. And of course, there's still the big stuff where I'll need to sit with it for a while, and it takes me some time to process and feel the things and release. But overall, I've noticed that it gets easier the more I use the mirror exercise, and the more I like invest in the teaching, and the more I apply it in my life. It's like any other skill.
Yeah, another thing that I found that's been getting easier just recently is being able to surrender, because you don't try to surrender, you just choose to. Right, okay, that's it. You don't have to complicate it. I mean, the simpler it is, or the simpler you perceive it, the better, really.
Feels good. Nikki, you
Right,
were
so
going
ask,
to... Okay.
yeah, do we have comments in the live?
Yeah, I don't see any comments. Granville says hello.
Hi.
Yeah, another part of the sermon that stuck out to me was towards the end, about examining if something has purpose in your life. And that was really good point, because sometimes we continue certain patterns or certain friendships or certain jobs, and we don't really think about whether this has a purpose anymore. We just do it just because we were told to, or just because we have been doing this before, so why stop now? That was a really good point, because yeah, like expecting that you will do the same thing over and over is an expectation again. And if there's no purpose in something and you keep doing it, then that's leaking your energy, because there's somewhere else that God wants you to put that energy.
Right, and this ties very well, like, with the part that Granville said that I forgot it. I had it in my mind. Yeah, it will come.
Yeah, let it go.
That's okay. Rachel, would you like to add anything to this?
Well, I'm just remembering the last thing I said the last time I did tea time. It just trust that God is leading you along the path that's going to bring you most happiness. So it's safe to let God lead. Know that every feeling that God brings you is always the right feeling in that moment, and trust.
Yeah, I agree. A big part of releasing expectation is trusting, because when you really feel into it, expectation is like, oh, I expect this will happen because I'm afraid of the outcome of anything else happening. So there's this fear, or like not trusting that God will bring you what is perfect for you. And that's actually not true. And even if you aren't where you thought you would be in this moment, then you're maybe behind, or you feel like you're behind, then that's okay, because that's perfect for you. And sometimes we really need to work through some stuff and really ground the healing before we can manifest the external. And that's okay, because it really doesn't feel good to halfway heal something and then manifest it and then it goes away. Like, for example, what comes to mind is people that win the lottery and they haven't really healed abundance, and the money just goes away in a few years and they're left back to where it began. Like, this wouldn't feel compassionate in my case. I wouldn't want that. I would prefer steady growth instead. So in that case, it means like not being a millionaire in 2 years' time. That's okay.
I remember. It was the part where Granville, I believe it's in the beginning of the sermon, that says that like expectation is very subtle, and sometimes it's even like unrecognizable that it's an expectation, because it's like the way that we are wired to work in that moment with specific stuff that we are expecting. And it goes hand in hand also with expectations that we put on ourselves upon the identity that we think that we are, or the way that we do stuff. Like, for example, I've seen this with my parents personally, which I have like kind of a pattern which I'm healing and it's getting like better, but I sometimes go and meet them without purpose. And I don't question, I question why, but after I meet them, and then I heal it. But I do it like in an expectation way, maybe like to get validation or to get attention, or I don't know. It might be something specific from when I go, but I know that it doesn't have like a loving or like a real purpose that will actually give me, and I know that it's an energy leak. And I just wanted like to bring it up since it ties with the sermon. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, that's a big one also, because in many cases we don't think to question those things because it's like, oh, that's what everybody's doing. That's how we're socialized. But we still need to see, okay, is there a purpose here? And in the last life purpose class I was watching, Jeff was talking about something similar, like how when you're all grown up and you're on the phone with your mother and she talks about her recipes or the food she makes. And then because you want something, you don't hang up, even though there's no purpose to continue the conversation. So you just keep the conversation going. It really doesn't feel good, but it's because you want something. And that's actually not honoring the relationship.
Yeah, makes sense. Something else that I want to like to mention, which I see in my life, is like people expecting me, or me expecting myself to have a degree for work to actually respect me more. So it's like an expectation that I put on myself, but it's like me just being disappointed and feeling disappointed in myself for something that is not actually related to how I'm feeling. It's just like me putting this like picture of me being more respected if I actually finish my degree or something, which I know that it's not actually true. It's just like needs healing. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. It's like with doing that kind of work. It's like you're giving yourself a justification for being on this earth. Like when your real justification is that you are a child of God, so you don't have to be constantly achieving stuff, working, achieving this, that, the other. Just your beingness is enough. You don't have to validate yourself in that way. You are already valid. You're stuck as valid. It's how you were created.
Exactly. And like what modern culture doesn't get is that it's still productive to rest and to take some time to eat and sleep and have fun, because that actually supports you in being productive. It doesn't take away from your productivity. Because if you try to work on something and you feel bad, it takes so long to get done and it doesn't feel good. The end result is weird. There's all these mistakes because there's an upset or an energy leak, because you should be doing something else and giving to yourself instead. So yeah, for me, it helps me very much to look at even those small things like resting or even playing video games like something productive I'm doing, because I'm giving to myself. So then I can give in return.
Yeah, but then even resting is important. I say even resting is very important. You don't always have to be doing something. Sometimes apparently doing nothing is, if God guides you to be doing that, even if it may look to other people as lazy. But it's all part of being balanced, because it's so easy to overwork or even play too hard and start taking from yourself. So your discernment, when are you burning the candle both ends, and when is it time to slow down and not be hard on yourself for slowing down, and not wait until you're absolutely exhausted before you give yourself a break. And you deserve to be treated kindly, so be kind to yourself.
That's a pattern I've had for a while, so I can relate with that. Like it's always about working hard all the time, every day. But then it starts to feel like burnout, and then I can't work for like 2 weeks straight, and because I'm so burned out. So yeah, it's not compassionate. Would not recommend. It's best to have balance and make sure you're giving to yourself every single day instead of waiting until you've exhausted all your energy to start giving to yourself. Good. So I feel the conversation has been slowing down. Do we all feel complete, or do you have any last comments to make?
I feel complete.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I feel complete.
Perfect. I feel complete too. So thank you everybody so much for joining us in today's discussion. And we'll see you around in the halls of the church. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.